Hey, what's up, everybody? Joey G right back at you today. My bald haircut, as you guys saw earlier today, as I did my big show. No pun intended, Paul White. But that is my big show that I do every Saturday. But picking up where I left off, this is Raw. I'm about to say the Monday Night Wars, but mine, Raw vs. Nitro, Part 5. That's right, Part 5. The Big 5. Slap across the face, the 5 fingers. But Part 5, where I started off last, was the first Raw wins around. And that was April 13th, 1998, where Stone Cold challenged Vince earlier. I was at that Raw in Philadelphia. It was my birthday's April 14th, so this was basically my 21st birthday gift from my cousin Paul Griffith and my Uncle Tom. They took me to, Raw. Raw's War. This was like right at the height of the Attitude. This is like right when the Attitude Era was like Shawn Michaels pushed that envelope, but this was like 3 weeks after WrestleMania 14. So it was like, this was the first Raw, that won. This is the one that started winning, and they basically just took it from there. But this Raw was just unbelievable. And the Nitro, I remember we had a suite, and we were watching Nitro, and the suite in Nitro, I remember watching Nitro, like, just thinking to myself, I remember it was Lex Luger, and he was fighting, I think he was fighting Booker T. It might have been for the U.S. belt. And I remember I'm looking down, looking at Raw, you know what I mean? The Headbangers were fighting somebody, and, like, that match was better than Luger and Booker T all night, And it was just a sign you knew things were changing. And the Raw crowd was so hot. And this was the first Raw I think they ever had in Philly. Yeah, it was. It was the first Raw they ever had in Philly. They had pay-per-views before in Philly. SummerSlam 90, WrestleMania 15. I was at both of them. I was at every pay-per-view ever in Philly except Survivor Series 06. I wasn't there. Royal Rumble 04, I wasn't there either. I wasn't at Royal Rumble 04 or Survivor Series 06. There were bad times in my life. Anyway, back to Raw and Nitro. But this was the first Raw that won. It was majorly because of Vince McMahon and Steve Austin. That feud was so hot. Vince McMahon turning into Mr. McMahon. And because it was a real life thing. What he did to Bret. That Bret Hart situation made Vince so much more entertaining, because now, like, you had somebody Stone Cold could feud with, really. Like, okay, everybody wants to punch their boss. Everybody wants to slap their boss. Everyone wants to tell their boss, flip the boss to bird. Everybody wants to, say up yours to the boss. You know what I mean? Everybody does. You know what I mean? Whether you like him or not, he's your boss. I don't care if it's your best friend or not. You want to say, you want to tell them off. Stone Cold did it. Stone Cold was in the best is when he got McMahon on Monday Night Raw. I mean, that's when Raw was hot. I mean, 99 I think was hotter, but 98 WCW was still there. So Nitro had some memorable times in 98 too. And let me go to Bill Goldberg. But that was strictly the downfall part of WCW. Like, okay, I mean, like, the story behind the Goldberg beating Hogan in the Georgia Dome, July 6th, 1998. I remember that. I didn't see it live. I saw the replay later that night. I was going out with my old girlfriend, Jackie. What's up, Jackie? How you doing? She had me go see Gone with the Wind at the Old Orleans here in Philadelphia. So I went and saw that with her. And, but I remember saying, man, I want to get home. Because, I mean, that was the same night the DX mocked the Nation, too. And that's another classic moment in Raw history. Yeah, it's the same night. I think. I could be wrong. But I think that was the same night Raw mocked the Nation. So there were two good shows, but I was mainly thinking Goldberg, Hogan. I mean, everybody wanted to see that. And the thing was with that, Goldberg won the title against Hogan that night. Well, he had to beat Scott Hall, go through Scott Hall first, and everybody knew Gold. The match was made that Thursday. Hogan's the one who made it. Hogan's the one who told Bischoff. Bischoff, I heard the story during the Monday Night Wars. Bischoff was driving down this road, and Hogan called him, and, on the cell phones, and back then cell phones were big like that to them. To guys like me, having a cell phone back then was big. But anyway, Hogan said, brother, we got to put this guy over. He knew Hogan was a smart businessman, knowing what was going on in WWE. You got a clone Goldberg who looks like Stone Cold, totally different characters, though. I mean, that was the thing. Everybody would say, oh, there's so much alike. they were such different characters. And Stone Cold was so much better. Goldberg was a 6-minute, I used to call him the 5-minute man. You know what I mean? He'd come out, he'd snort, blow smoke, he'd come in the ring, he'd spear you, he'd jackhammer, he'd win, and he'd be back in the locker room. That'd be it. And that was their biggest draw. If it wasn't for him, WCW would have died probably middle of night after DDP and Goldberg went off the air in Halloween Havoc 98. That's what they would have been, you know. And I got that pay-per-view, and I'll get on to that in a second. But like that was stupid. Like then you're gonna have Goldberg. That's how infatuated Eric Bischoff was with the ratings. Like he was getting his ass kicked. I mean, he wasn't used to this because he, like I said, he won from June. I have my cigarette out. Don't smoke, kids. From June 12th, 1996 to April 13th, 1998, Nitro ruled. Got to the point where Bischoff said, I don't even got to get... And you know what the funny thing about this was, and I'm going in reverse, but this is Raw vs. Nitro Part 5. There's probably going to be a Part 7, but who cares? It's going to go pretty quick because Raw's pretty much taken over now. But 2 weeks before Raw won the ratings, like the week after WrestleMania 14. It was like 3 weeks after WrestleMania 14, or 2 weeks. I couldn't be wrong. And it was the week after WrestleMania 14. Bischoff came down the Nitro ring on a motorcycle with a king hat on, saying how great it is to be the king, and I don't even have to go in the office Tuesday mornings and look at the ratings anymore. I know what they're going to be. I know we're going to win. Like, basically making an ass out of the WWE. Well, who was the ass, Eric? And I like Eric Bischoff. I like Eazy-E. I do. I mean, I dug Eazy-E. Even when he was that heel, I liked what he did. He's cutting edge. He does shit that I would do. You know what I mean? That's what he does. He does stuff I would do. So, you know, but then what happened? The next week, Raw won. And I heard he was in shock. But, you know, knowing him, he still had the ego thing. That, this was, you know, a fluke. They won. And then the next week, I think Nitro won close. It was real close, but the next week, Nitro won close. And they went back and forth for like 2-3 weeks. It was Raw, then Nitro, then Raw again, then Nitro, and then Raw won for like 12 weeks straight until the Georgia Dome. And then Hogan had the match on Nitro because he knew Eric was, and Hogan was just infatuated with the ratings as Bischoff was. Had the match on Nitro. So, no shot at Kurt Hennig, but that weekend was a pay-per-view. I think it was Sturgis. No, it wasn't the night the DX mocked the nation. It was a couple weeks before or after that. I don't know. But that was fun. That was a great Raw, too, and one of the greatest impersonations ever. Triple H is the Croc. Below. Oh, man, that was great. That's another segment in itself. But that's how infatuated WCW was with their ratings. I mean, you're going to have Hulk Hogan against Goldberg in the Georgia Dome. They blocked some of it off, so there was over 40,000 people there. For, you know, a Nitro, a weekly show on a Monday night, that's a lot of people, 40,000 people. You know, I mean, when you're regularly, WCW is getting maybe 10,000, you know what I mean? Raw was selling out the buildings. That's one difference between WWE and WCW. You know what I mean? WCW gave away free tickets. As you remember when DX went down there with the tank and tried to roll it right through. If Eric Bischoff was smart, he would have let him go through, and he would have had WWE characters on his show, and Nitro would have won the ratings. But Vince is smart. Because Vince said, I heard Vince say in a couple DVDs, good, they would have won the ratings that night. But why would they won the ratings? Because my superstars were on their show. And it probably would have been a big lawsuit, too. But anyway, getting back to the Goldberg thing. You have Goldberg wrestle Hogan on national TV for free. And then that week at the pay-per-view, no shot at Kurt Hennig, because Mr. Perfect, you know it, you're one of my favorite wrestlers ever. And Larry the Axe-Hound, you're the man, Curtis Axel, you got to step it up. I like you because you're Kurt Hennig's son and you're Larry the Axe's grandson. And I like Curtis Axel. He is one of my favorite wrestlers because he's Mr. Perfect's son. Other than that, I wouldn't like him. You got to step it up, Curtis, because Ryback is... They've taken Ryback away, and he's specially getting trained because they're building him to be the next face because Roman Reigns isn't that guy. And that's another story, as I was talking about that earlier. But that was the thing with Nitro. And then you have Kurt Hennig fight Goldberg. Nothing against Kurt Hennig, but Kurt Hennig against Goldberg at the pay-per-view. Doesn't it sound Goldberg versus Hogan at the pay-per-view? But you have, or you save Goldberg versus Hogan for Starrcade. And, but Goldberg's streak had to go. And if you all remember, Kevin Nash booked that. And during that time, I want to say, this is a lot about Nitro, this one, because WWE was winning. WWE was winning. They weren't winning, they weren't killing Nitro. But you would say WWE was getting, say WWE was 100. WCW was right there at 90, 85. I mean, they weren't getting killed. You know what I mean? They were right behind there. They just needed one big thing and they would have took back over. But Jericho was building this feud with Goldberg. And if you ever saw the Y2J Breaking the Code DVD and things behind it, they didn't like each other. And they built up this thing where Jericho actually, the fans actually wanted to see Jericho fight Goldberg. And Goldberg, being the dick that he is, no, he's too small, I'm not, he won't. They wanted Jericho to break the streak. And it was no, and Jericho was supposed to fight him at Fall Brawl, and Goldberg decided, he was the world champion, decided not to show up, did a Brock Lesnar move, and he wasn't there, the world title wasn't defended, and Jericho did, and that was the end of the feud. And that's when Jericho decided, he said, my contract's up in May, and that's when I'm going to WWE. And that's all he said. That's all he thought from September of 98 to May of 99. WWE, WWE, WWE. I'll do my best, WWE, WWE, WWE. And that Raw was great. August 9th, 1999. Y2J. I think the greatest ever intro in WWE, in pro wrestling history. When Chris Jericho debuted in the WWE. Raw's War. August 9th, 1999, hands down. But 98 was a year of Jay Leno putting the great Hulk Hogan at Sturgis in an armbar. That was, I don't like Jay Leno anyway. I'm a David Letterman guy, and I really don't like David Letterman either, but I don't like Jay Leno because I know he's a friggin' cocksucking backstabber, what he did to Conan, and I do like Conan, so, you know what I mean? Just, and putting the great Hulk Hogan, the greatest hit at the box office, at least. I mean, not in the ring. Putting them in an R bar and selling it. It just, you know what I mean? And then the Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. I said I was going to get to that. This is the last. I'm going to wrap it up. Me and my cousin Paulie get it. Luckily, we saw the Goldberg DDP match. We didn't overlap. We saw it. We saw the whole, and that was one of WCW's good pay-per-views that year. Halloween Havoc '98. I mean, you had, the Warrior Hogan match was a disaster. I mean, you had Horace come down, his nephew, and hit the Warrior. It was nothing compared to the WrestleMania 6 match. I mean, Eric Bischoff's an idiot, was an idiot at that time. He did some good things, but he did some asinine things. But, I mean, and it ended the year with Kevin Nash, of course, with Scott Hall with the camel throb, doing that to Goldberg. And Nash winning the world title, and then the finger poked to him in the beginning of January of '99. And Mick Foley ending the year as the WWE champion. That was great. Tony Schiavone making that stupid statement saying, Mick Foley, the guy who used to work here known as Cactus Jack, is going to be their world champion. Pah! That's to put some butts in the seats. You're an asshole, Schiavone. This is Joey G. Raw vs. Nitro Part 5. Part 6 tomorrow night. Peace.